The room was silent, except for the steady hum of the projector. Admiral Talon stood before the gathered officers, the pale light of the screen casting sharp shadows across his uniform. "Human methods," he began, his voice echoing through the hall, "have always been noteworthy for their overkill." Behind him, images flickered to life. The Battle of Yevon V. 5 massive human battlecruisers hung in low orbit, their cannons unleashing torrents of fire upon the surface below. "The humans called it light bombardment," Talon continued. "Over 2 megatons of ordnance dropped across 50 square miles." He turned, regarding the devastation with a faint shake of his head. When questioned about their severity, human ambassadors seemed confused. They insisted that's just the nature of orbital fire support. The next slide appeared, a screenshot from a human news outlet. The bombardment, an event that had vaporized cities, was little more than a footnote beneath a headline reading, "Human volunteers aid in peacekeeping operations." "For those too young to remember," Talon said, pacing slowly before the screen, "the Keepers of the Sacred Word were the most dangerous terrorist cell the galaxy had seen in half a century. To humanity, they were little more than a fly to be swatted." The image changed again. It showed a human soldier standing amid the ruins of New Kalantia City, reduced to ash and twisted metal. Overhead, a small fleet of frigates rained autocannon fire into the rubble. The soldier, calm and unmoved, leaned against a shattered tree, her rifle slung lazily over one shoulder. "She was part of the first drop wave," Talon said quietly. 57 confirmed kills before evacuation. Hours later, the entire city 200 miles in every direction was turned to glass by nuclear warheads. Murmurs spread through the audience. Talon let them rise for a moment before continuing. "A trial was attempted," he said, clicking to the next image. "A human lawyer standing before the Galactic Council. The Council accused humanity of war crimes. The human defense was persuasive." He lifted a hand, quoting the lawyer's words. "We were faced with a choice. Lose a city, or lose a planet. We chose to destroy the city before it destroyed itself." Talon took a long drink of water before resuming. "Remember, Glaci Nucalante was a concession. Humanity's original plan was to glass the entire continent and quarantine every system within 15 light." Gasps rippled through the audience. One young officer hesitantly raised her hand. If a 15-light-year quarantine wasn't considered overkill," she stammered. "Then what was?" The Admiral chuckled softly, changing the slide. "If only we knew." He paused, letting the silence grow heavy before delivering the answer. 100-light-year quarantine was proposed as an extreme, but reasonable, course of action." The room fell utterly still. "This," Talon said, pacing once more, "was our first true lesson about humanity. To them, what we see as madness is reasonable. What we see as annihilation is containment." He gestured to the next rapid sequence of images. Government insignia and covert operations, flashing one after another in a dizzying cascade. "In the centuries since, we have monitored humanity closer than any other species. What we found is both terrifying and enlightening." He turned back to the audience, voice dropping to a grim murmur. "What you're about to see is classified beyond top secret. Anyone caught leaking it will face immediate court-martial and likely execution." He looked over the room one final time. "But you must see it. Only then will you understand the true nature of the beast." The lights dimmed to black. A new video began to play, its grainy feed projected across the cavernous meeting hall. Officers leaned forward in their seats, their faces bathed in the cold blue glow of the screen. Subtitles flickered across the bottom. Location: human-controlled sector, Outer Rim. Subject: massive fleet activity near anomalous hyper. A sea of human warships filled the frame, thousands upon thousands of vessels, each one bristling with weapons. Estimated count: one galactic intelligence officer murmured, 11,127. Another officer exhaled sharply. "You ever seen a battle group that large?" "Only in a history book," came the quiet reply. On screen. The hypergate began to awaken, rings of light spinning faster and faster until the star it orbited began to darken, its energy siphoned away. "My gods," whispered one of the officers. "Is that—" "Zoom in," ordered the other. The camera panned closer, stabilizing on the impossible sight. Data scrolled rapidly across the screen. "That can't be right," said the first officer. "I ran the diagnostics twice," came the answer. "It's real. The gate. It's connected to another galaxy." Silence. Tina Singlestan voice. "Get Overlord. Command on the line." The situation just changed. The video ended. Admiral Talon stepped forward, his expression grave. "Humanity," he said, "has always been alien in behavior, in belief, in capability. But now, we know they are truly alien in origin." He gestured to the screen as new images began to appear. "Our intelligence confirms that humanity is an intergalactic power. They exert total control over at least 27 galaxies. Their presence, military, corporate, or colonial, has been confirmed in over 1,700 more. Some estimates suggest their influence reaches 10,000 galaxies." The slideshow accelerated images of galaxy-spanning megastructures, fleets the size of civilizations, supercorporations, politicians, and scientists. The torrent of information was overwhelming. Talon's voice cut through the growing unease. "What we are witnessing is a Type 3 civilization. To them, 1,000,000 stars is a drop in the ocean, 100 light-year quarantine. A logistical footnote. Merely business as usual." Then came the next slide. The entire hall winced. A star map of the Great Rift of Alt. 10 years ago, Talon said, the Great Rift opened. It consumed an entire star cluster. It took the combined effort of 157 species, humans among them, to stop the radiation from sweeping across 15,000 stars. The next image appeared and chaos erupted. Officers rose from their seats, shouting over one another, voices cracking with panic and disbelief. It took Admiral Talon nearly a full minute to restore order. When silence finally fell, he spoke quietly. "What you are seeing is what humans define as overkill." The final transmission from the Althor system filled the screen. A hypergate, stable, and channeling directly from human space before everything went black. "Why would they do this?" a voice cried from the crowd. "They were our allies. We're doomed. God, help us all." Their panic died instantly when the next image appeared. It was a creature twisted, burned, and screaming in agony. A still frame captured just before its body disintegrated. "The Althor sector was dying," Talon said, voice low and cold. "A plague. One carrier could erase an entire world. In 10 days, 273 planets went dark. We begged the humans for help." He gestured toward the next slide. That was their response. A single image filled the hall. A quasar, blazing with unimaginable fury, harnessed by a titanic ring of human-built constructs. Its energy had been weaponized, condensed into a beam of annihilation. "This," said Talon, "is the most destructive device ever conceived. The humans call it a hyperweapon. They have learned to channel the power of a quasar and unleash it when overkill is truly necessary." Data and images of the plague flashed by. The scourge, a disease humanity had fought before, in other galaxies, and barely survived. Talon's voice softened. "It is the only thing I've ever known to make a human, Admiral. Uneasi." He looked out across the silent Ruman ocean of wide eyes and pale faces. "I know what you're all thinking," he said finally. "What do we do with this knowledge?" He sighed. "The truth is we do nothing. This information is useless to us. We exist at humanity's whim. They could erase us in an afternoon." Talon straightened, his tone turning grave and deliberate. "My final advice is this. Humanity has proven themselves helpful, diplomatic, even benevolent. They signed treaties. They broker peace. They check all the boxers of a civilized race." He paused, letting the weight of his words fall. but under no circumstances should anyone here ever stand against them. Humanity knows best, and they have the firepower to make us understand it. Or to blind us with it. The Admiral turned off the projector. The room was swallowed by darkness. To them, standard practice is apocalypse, he said softly. Overkill is annihilation. And annihilation, he looked around one last time, is just another Tuesday. A final, grim smile crossed his face. So remember this, officers. He tapped the console, ending the briefing. Don't bring a cruiser to a quasar fight